to another episode of Gov Tech Today. I'm Russell Lowery.
And I'm Jen Saha.
And together we try and bridge the gap between .com and .gov. We're constantly on the lookout for opportunities. Cali procure various methods of seeing contracting opportunities. And you've stumbled on one that I think both our government and our private sector folks are really going to be interested in. And honestly, it's not one that I've paid any attention to. So an M&O opportunity. When I see M&O, I don't even look at it. Maintenance and operations, I have no interest in the maintenance work. But you've noticed some interesting things happening in the space. Tell us about it.
Well, it sounds super boring and very unsexy,
Yes.
The maintenance and operations. And you're like, well, they just want to maintain whatever system they had. So we're not going to, bother looking at it. But when you start to peel back the layers on the onions that I'm seeing, and it's a trend even larger than just California, it's in general in the industry. I'm seeing a shift in the M of maintenance and operations, and I think it's towards modernize and operate. Because when you're seeing these requirements, I'm looking at system requirements, system improvement requirements, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't just maintaining what they already have. These people want to make meaningful changes, meaningful leaps forward in the technology that they have. And it's bundled into a maintain and operate kind of contract.
Okay, so so you're seeing the maintenance contract. So you're evaluating the maintenance contract for maybe an existing vendor or somebody that has the services component for that maintenance thing, and you're noticing within the proposal, what is the contracting process that you're seeing? Expansion.
It comes out as would any normal M&O contract. Usually they're called maintenance and operations, but when you look at it, you're seeing a bunch of system improvements, system requirements that they want to make. And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. This isn't what they have today. They're not just asking you to maintain. And I think that's very purposeful for any number of reasons, but I think we're shifting into an era where maintaining isn't going to cut it anymore, right? We don't want to operate the same systems that we've had for a decade. We don't necessarily want new systems, but it doesn't mean that there's not a happy medium to have the systems we have be tweaked, be modernized, be improved upon in a more agile fashion. And I think that's what some of the goals of these new M&O projects are.
So when I see changes to the way the government is doing business, there can be a couple drivers for it, like you just mentioned. Sometimes it's the headache of the contracting process. Sometimes it's the budget impact for the budget and approval process. And sometimes it's just the operations of what do I need to do in order to do what I do. When you see these changes, what do you think's driving why these changes to the modernization and operations?
I think it's a number of factors, but first of all, if we're saying we're just going to take small incremental steps to improve what we already have, that's not a project. And it keeps you out of all of the negative that comes along with a new IT project, right? You have to go through an approval process. You have to go through a massive budgetary process, and you have eyes of everyone on you, from the state CIO to your director and the press and the legislature. So if we say we're not undertaking a massive project, a massive modernization, we're just improving upon what we already have in an incremental way, that's a lot easier to swallow politically, leadership-wise, project support-wise, budget-wise. So it sort of alleviates a lot of the stress points of calling something a big project.
Okay, so that makes sense. How big of a change could I get under this rubric? Can you give me a sense of what kind of projects could I go from? Could I go from on-site prem to a cloud migration under a maintenance contract? Big? What's the limit to this?
It's really squishy. I saw one the other day that had 120 pages of requirements, what I would call modernization requirements to a system that already exists in a contract that was requesting maintenance and operations. And, when you open it up, it's like, holy smokes, this is a whole new system. But I don't know. I mean, you're sort of skirting some rules, getting a little close to some lines here and there, but if everyone's approved it and said it's okay, then who are we as an industry to really push back on that? I certainly look at it as an incredible opportunity. Like, do not sleep on these M&Os because it could really be your way to help improve and maintain a whole new system.
Well, I don't see industry. I wouldn't see an opportunity for industry to push back or a likelihood of it happening under that requirement. But I'm curious about the budgetary impacts and the oversight authorities. CDT immediately comes to mind, but also the budget. So if I've got budgetary authority for maintenance, and I can transform within that budget for maintenance, am I taking money that I'm thinking of maybe a cybersecurity project? So I'm taking money that I was previously spending on the cybersecurity, and I'm maintaining it. And by maintain it, I mean I'm transforming my network infrastructure and I'm taking money that may have been originally intended for one cybersecurity suite, and I'm changing my network to make a AI defense kind of secure network. Is that the kind of thing that you're talking about? And I can do that under existing budget authority?
Yeah, totally. I mean, these M&O, traditional M&O budgets are sometimes massive. This is how large systems integrators in town make their numbers and make their livings. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars.
Got it.
So there's no reason that a government can't go to that systems integrator and say, we want more for our dollar. Like, we have been spending this much money over this amount of time, and we have a 10-year-old system. Like, let's make some tweaks. Let's make some improvements within this existing budget. Right. I don't necessarily think it means that government is going to be spending a lot more money. It's just challenging the vendor community and themselves, really, on spending that money in a different way that's going to also help them achieve some of their modernization goals.
And do they have to put out a new scope and requirements, or could they just work with the existing vendor and the existing maintenance budget and affect this kind of modernization without it showing up on Cal eProcure?
So, like, the procurement purist in me says if you're going to have a massive change to your scope, you should go back out. But the taxpayer in me, the ex-government employee that worked on some of these projects in me, says, let's challenge the people that we have to do more and do better and step up for this valuable taxpayer dollar. So I've seen it happen a lot where it's like, well, we already have these guys in here working, maintaining and operating this system. We're going to go back to them and say, hey, can you loop this modernization into it? Can you make these improvements to what we're working on within our existing scope? And I mean, that's totally permissible, and it is very easy to be able to do that.
Got it. And we can certainly understand no one wants a competitive bid process that isn't truly competitive. If you've got, and they've been maintaining it for years, they know it intimately, and you're looking at it as a tweak, and in your mind, it's a tweener between modernization and maintenance, why you wouldn't necessarily want to put that out to bid.
Sure.
And so, but on the other side, as someone who's always trying to get meetings and get in the door and get new clients and new opportunities introduced, if we're giving incumbent, established, entrenched technology spend to incumbent, that is potentially problematic as well.
I mean, if I were a vendor looking at it, one of my questions would be like, are they happy? Are they happy with this team that's in there, with the work this team has done? Or are they maybe looking for more of a change than just like bundling in a few more requirements? because that can be a pretty good indication. Like if they're super frustrated, they feel like they have just reached the end of the road. They're looking for entire new systems, disguised as something. Then maybe it is a great opportunity for a vendor to come in and say, let us pick this up and move forward with it from there.
Is this an opportunity perhaps for people with existing maintenance contracts to maybe value engineer a way to do more within the same budget? And perhaps if you're moving down the road and you're making these improvements and there's additional spend required to fully realize the vision that you've started, that you're now entrenched, it seems like you might be able to extract more value from the maintenance contract
Yeah,
if you can.
I love that. I think it's something like customer success, client success is what you'll hear from the vendor community. And it's like after you've signed the deal, who is like holding their hands to make sure they're happy and that things are being implemented the right way and things are being kept to scope and kept to the contract that was agreed to. I feel like it's sort of a lost art. And this is a perfect way to be like, hey, we want to provide more value for what you're paying us. Who doesn't love to hear that? Like everyone rejoices at hearing that. And so it's a great way for a vendor to either turn something around if a client isn't happy or really get sticky with that client and deliver a ton more value than the client was even expecting. What better way to establish a phenomenal relationship with that client and ensure future awards go your way?
That makes a lot of sense. Have you gotten any rumbling from the oversight agencies? Or is anyone got their hair up on this over at CDT?
I think CDT is super busy. They have a huge portfolio that they are worried about and are watching and are already tasked with having oversight of. So I haven't so far heard them be like, hey, we want to take on more work. But I do see this. It could be something at some point where they raise their hand and say, like, hey, this crosses that line between maintain and modernize. And if you are truly going to modernize, we do need to be involved for every number of reasons that you just stated. But I haven't heard it so far. And I don't think it's a bad thing if they do ask the hard questions, but I also don't think it's a bad thing to try to get more for your dollar out of sort of squeezing some of these vendors to sort of help the state get to where they need to be.
Well, it's been a fascinating subject. I see a lot of opportunities. I see strengths and weaknesses to both sides. And I love the idea of the public servants that are saying, I want to generate the best possible product for the state and the department. And I've got this money and I don't want to just maintain something that isn't working. I'm trying to innovate. That on balance, that's the kind of attitude where we're all going to be served better.
Right. I think maintenance is the goal, but like, let's stretch our goals. We do that in business every day. Like no one wants to maintain their numbers next year. We want to blow it out of the park. So changing the M from maintain to modernize, I think gives them a tool to be able to do that.
And maybe as a final question, I know I've got homework to do. I know a bunch of contracts that I just haven't looked at. You've created opportunity. When we started the podcast, I had this thought in mind that we wanted to do that for the audience to give them ideas to how can we make the state, the .com and the .gov better partners. So I've got some homework. But maybe as a final question, do you think it might be worth pursuing? Sort of as a default position, a constant modernization protocol is kind of built into how the state does business. Like, should we change maintenance to modernization in our thinking?
I love it. I mean, we talk all the time about that gap between government and the private sector and how we're working on systems that are 20 years old and we have people in there maintaining those systems. Like, why aren't we challenging ourselves and the vendor community and our state government to constantly be improving and modernizing and stepping it up?
Oh, We'll end on that. I think I have a new favorite episode.